Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a great day. I'm so glad you're joining me. Well, we're going to make a floral card today using some Altenew products. We have the Altenew Beautiful Day stamp set. And there's something special about this that makes stamping really easy. And then we're using the coordinating die to cut out the images. And then I'm also going to create a frame. We're actually going to elongate this. This is a square frame, and then you have this decorative, like a bracket frame. We'll be using this on our card, but I'm going to make this square frame longer so it'll fit an A2 card beautifully. And I actually got my hands on the stamp wheel, and we'll be using this with our stamp set. Actually, this stamp set works best with the stamp wheel, and I'll show you why in a minute. But this is the first time using it, and I honestly thought they have a stamp wheel 2.0. This is the first one, and I really thought this was bigger. Then the reason I held off on getting one was because I thought this was bigger than it actually is. Let me show you. This is my large Misty, okay? And the stamp wheel is really not that much larger, okay? It's maybe about an inch wider, but it's an inch shorter than this. This is actually really heavy with my mat in here too, but where this is on the lighter side. So I thought we would give this a try too. I'm also going to bring in some of my stamp wheel center alignment guides. I think this is just going to make things easier. There's 4 guides in here, and I'm using the A2, but there's a 6x6, a 5.5 by 5.5, a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch guide in here too. But we're just going to add this to our stamp wheel. Okay, and let's get to stamping. We're just jumping right in, aren't we? I'm excited about this. I've never tried this before, so I don't know if I'm going to do it right or not, so bear with me. We're going to take the stamp set. I did do a little practicing on it. I've already did a little practicing on it, so I kind of know what I'm doing. Okay, now this is the stamp set. Okay, and you see this plus in here? This plus lines up with the plus that's on the platform here. Okay, so I'm just going to line this up best as I can here. And that's all there is to this. Now what I'm going to do, since the plus is centered and my cardstock is centered, but the flower is not centered, I'm going to scoot this panel all the way over here. Okay, on this side. And let's see if this will line up on my sheet. Yes. Okay, so I scooted my panel all the way over because even though this is centered, my flower's not. Okay. And what the instructions say is to just rotate it 90 degrees like this, and then do your next layer, rotate it again, and do your next layer, and rotate it again to do your next layer. 90 degrees each time. It makes it really easy. Okay, we're going to start with the outline, and we're going to use Simon Says Stamp inks. This is Woodsy. We're going to go brown because I think brown just gives it a vintage feel. We'll ink this up. Okay, and then I'm making sure that my plus is right side up. You don't want it to be a X. Make sure it's right side up, and then I'm going to stamp this here. Lovely. Okay, now we're going to do the most solid image. I'm going to create a teal flower. So most solid, I'm going to use my lightest ink. This is Seafoam. I'm just going to ink this up here. Okay, flip it around. And then make sure it's the plus. And then we can just stamp this. We'll give this a press. Wonderful. Okay, and then We'll flip it over, and then we're going to do our next layer. Now, this stamp set does have a brochure inside that you can follow, and makes it really easy. But my next layer, I'm going to use Surf. But it's pretty self-explanatory. We're just going to ink this up. And we just stamp right over this. Lovely. And then I'm going to take a darkest ink, which is Ocean. We're going to rotate it one more time. And we'll ink this part up. And then we can just stamp this. And look how beautiful that is. And it took no time at all. Gorgeous. You could use a smaller piece of cardstock too for less waste. But that's gorgeous. Okay, but this is a little too dark for what I'm going for today. So we're going to put this to the side, grab another piece of cardstock. And I'm thinking we're just going to do one layer. Okay, so let's re-ink this up with Woodsy, which is a brown ink. Stamp here. Give that a good press, because it is a beautiful flower. Okay, and then I'm just going to stamp the next layer with my seafoam. Actually, which would be this one. Let me wipe this off, and then I'll go in with my seafoam. We'll go ahead and stamp this. And I think that looks beautiful. I think that looks beautiful just like that, okay? So I'm not going to add these other two layers. Let me show you the difference. You see the difference? You have a real detailed versus not so detailed. So I'm just going to use one layer for my card. Okay, so that's this one. I'm going to bring in another piece of cardstock. I want two flowers. So we're going to bring back our stamp set. Stamp the outline once more with Woodsy. Give that a press. For my next one, I'm going to use my butter ink. And we're just going to go over, instead of going over the more solid layer, let's go over, let me show you on the packaging here. Okay, this one we use this stamp, okay, but for my yellow flower, I'm going to fill it in with this. So we have more white area. Let's see what this does. I think that looks beautiful too. So any layer would work great. Okay, lovely. So these are my flowers. You can't put these to the side. We'll take this off, and then we're going to bring in our leaf next. And I didn't know this. I thought the leaves were separate, but the leaves actually work the same way. One stamp, okay? So let's bring in another piece of cardstock here. This time I'm going to go in the middle, because we're going to stamp multiples. Okay. Wonderful. Flip this over. I'm going to ink up the outline of my leaf with my Woodsy, my brown ink. And we'll stamp this here. Okay, wonderful. And then we have this layer that I'm going to use my celery. Well, this layer I'm going to use my Sprout ink. Just ink this up here. And then we just stamp this. And I'm outside the lines for some reason, and I don't know why I'm not getting lined up. But let's try our next layer. Let's try our next layer, which is this one. We're going to ink this up with celery. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and stamp this. Lovely. We're going to flip it over, and then we're going to go in on our third one. Careful, you don't want to go in with, you don't want to add the flower center. I didn't even know there was a flower center. Huh. Okay. And then we can stamp this one. For some reason my leaf's not centered. So we're going to try this again. I'm just going to flip this over and we're going to try it again here. Okay. Lovely. Oh well, I still can't get it lined up, but I'm going to roll with it because I think it looks really pretty. So I'm going to make 2 more of these, okay? So I have 2 more leaves now. For my project today, I'm probably just going to use 3 sets. But I do want to mention that I may be doing it wrong because it did stamp outside the lines for me. And so I don't know if it's because I'm new to the stamp wheel or if I'm doing this stamping wrong, but I did go outside the lines a little bit. But I'm still going to roll with it. And we're going to do a little bit more stamping with this panel here. There's room on the bottom for me to stamp my greeting. Let's stamp "Wishing the most delightful day." We'll stamp here on the bottom. I'm going to do a little bit of masking with this. I'm just going to mask this off here. I'm going to stamp with my Woodsy ink the first half, so we'll just ink this up. And then I can remove the mask here, and then we can stamp the first part of the greeting. Lovely. And then I can wipe it off, and then I'll use some more tape. I'm going to stamp it with my Seafoam ink. And I'm going to add a little bit of a darker color with my Surf. We'll add a gradient. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of this, add it to the bottom. Kind of fade up a little bit. Remove the mask. This right below it. And that will be my greeting. I'm going to bring in some cardstock. This is Altenew's Pink Sand. It's a really pretty taupe. I'm going to die cut this out. Okay. So we have a frame now. And this is not like the Spellbinders embossing folders. You die cut first. And then I'm just going to line this up here. We'll close this up. And then I'm going to run this through my die cut machine. Then all we have to do is open it. And look how gorgeous that is. A beautiful, gorgeous frame. I'm going to do this twice. So I have another piece of cardstock. And then I'll die cut the rest of my elements out also. My die cutting and embossing are all done. Okay, now to build the frame, it's just going to be real simple. We're just going to add a little bit of glue. I'm going to use my card base as a reference. Okay, we'll center this one on top, and then I'm going to layer this one on the bottom. That's all there is to it. Because our flowers are so big, they're going to cover this, but if you wanted to trim off the inside pieces, you could. I'm going to flip this over and bring in some foam tape. This is going to go in the center of my card base. Before we do that, I think I'm going to add a little extra color to the sides. Okay, using the same inks. There we go. And then we're going to take our frame and we're just going to layer this right in the middle. And then I'm going to layer the colors of flowers over the opposite sides. Lovely. And then I put foam tape behind my leaves, and we can do a little tucking with these. Okay, now as I'm looking at my greeting, I think if I were to add my greeting, it's just going to take away from my card. So I'm not going to use this greeting. Okay, and then I have one leaf left over. What I'm going to do instead is take our stamp set, and there's a smaller greeting that says I adore you. I'm going to take that and stamp this down here on the bottom, just using the same ink here. Lovely. Now we're almost done. The flower centers in our stamp set, this flower center was connected to our leaves, okay, and I didn't know how to add this to the flower. So rather than stamping this flower center, what I'm going to do is just bring in one of my markers. I'm just going to use a fine tip Sharpie, and I'm going to fill that in with a Sharpie. Lovely. So again, basically I'm just coloring. So if I were to have stamped it, I would have stamped it with black ink. Okay, but I tried to maneuver this around my flower after I had already die cut it out, and I couldn't get it. For finishing touches, I'm going to bring in some of my gems, and we're going to add a few to our background just to sparkle it up here. And then I'm also going to bring in my diamond stickles, and I'm going to go over the stamen with a little sparkle too. And then that will finish off my card today. A really pretty I Adore You card. Thanks so much for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thanks so much for sticking with me to the end. I have 2 more videos that you guys might be interested here. If you guys are new and like the content that you see, click that subscribe button and also the notification bell. That way for future videos, be notified. Also, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It sure does help the channel. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you